And welcome to this very exciting first event in the inReach series, which we've been planning and thinking about for some time. I am absolutely delighted and honored to introduce Rosalind Paul, MBE, who is the Chief Executive Officer and Artistic Director of Seen and Heard. Ros, if I may, has over 30 years of experience as an actor, director, teacher, and drama facilitator. She's taught for schools, for the National Youth Theatre, and service children's education. Her career as a professional actor included appearing in numerous national repertory theatres, including Unicorn, Polka for Children's Theatre, as well as the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, UK and international touring companies, and on BBC Radio. Ros first volunteered at Seen and Heard in 2003, became Associate Artistic Director in 2008, and Chief Executive and Artistic Director in 2010, and has held that position ever since. As CEO and Artistic Director, she's responsible for voice, vision, and the integrity of Seen and Heard. And because it's not visible to you until we make it visible to you, Seen and Heard is SCENE and Heard, for producing the courses, performances, and all creative output. Day to day, she manages the staff, runs the courses, and curates the Arts Hub, leading pastoral care of the children and the 350 plus volunteer theatre professionals that work for the organization. She was appointed MBE in 2022 for charitable services to theatre, to young people, and to families in Somerstown, London Borough of Camden, which she'll be speaking about today. Without further ado, I'll turn over to Ros.
Thank you. Thanks so much for that lovely introduction. Kelly, thanks for having me. I feel very honoured to be here, and thanks, Judith, as well. I'm very excited to be here and to be able to share the work that we do in Somerstown with the children and families. Somerstown is a ward of Camden, geographically situated just behind King's Cross and Euston stations and the British Library. It's a pocket of genuine poverty surrounded by these incredible buildings, the Francis Crick Institute, the British Library, the St Pancras International Station, but it is 98% council flats. We're here right in the heart of that community and have been for 24 years, working here since 1999. The best way to explain what we do at Seen and Heard is to watch this brief film, if you will. It's just 7 minutes long, but it beautifully articulates who we are, what we do, and introduces you to our children, our volunteers, and our theatre. So, Judith, if you can, please press play, and hopefully it works. Technology not up to me. Seen and Heard is a unique theatre mentoring project that works with the inner city children of Somerstown in Camden, partnering them with volunteer theatre professionals to make theatre. We work with small numbers of children who are each mentored by an arts professional volunteer to write their own mini play, which are then performed by professional actors.
You're just a tiny tangerine.
I'm 35 years old, middle-aged, and I'm fine with it.
The aim of the project is to boost self-esteem, raise confidence, and raise aspirations. It's all about intensive, bespoke, one-to-one support to help children find their voice, helping them to understand that that voice is worth hearing. We give them a platform for success. Children come to weekly playwriting classes after school.
We thought of an animal and we gave it all these characteristics.
They each create characters from animals, objects, and objects of nature. They bring two characters together and they get them talking to each other. And that's when we get theatre.
And this is Team Meyer, everybody.
They write a two-character scene for their two actors to perform. We don't change or edit the children's words in any way. Our adults act as scribe to help unlock all the ideas that the child is coming up with. These plays are extraordinary. Theatre is storytelling, and children love to tell stories. Welcome to the Sunday read-through. The children see their words coming out of the adults' mouths for the first time. Polly!
Oh my goodness, what amazing play!
As the actors and the directors start to work on them, these extraordinary themes come out of the plays. As you know, this isn't children's theatre, it isn't pantomime, as wonderful as all those things are. It's not theatre and education, it really is something other. It is unique.
You treat it like any other professional job, but more so.
Absolute key to it is you trust the integrity of the play.
You have a particularly special connection with the writer. Their work is being heard for the first time. That's such an honour.
It's completely unfiltered, it's completely, unedited.
It is the best work you will ever do.
Hello, we're going after dreams, and it seems I'm supportive of you.
The actors, directors and dramaturgs who work with us are all art professionals. And so the children's words and their plays are given this extraordinary elevation. Each of the 10 plays that the children write are unique to themselves, but we bring a series of unifying elements. Props are all two-dimensional, hand-drawn, cartoon-style foam board. Our incredible costume designers have 2 weeks to make 20 imaginative, creative costumes. When an audience comes to Seen and Heard, they have no idea what they are in for, because it is children's words coming out of really skilled, really talented actors' mouths.
My sunscreen has finished. I could die if I go outside.
That's not my problem.
I'm Tim, the vending machine. I have 3 siblings, Pat, a pufferfish, Lily, a pencil, and TJ, the cheetah.
Hold on. What are you talking about?
I've always wanted someone to understand me, but I never thought it would be an empty packet of prawn cocktail crisps.
The transformation from page to stage is incredible.
There's nothing like seeing a production that surprises you, lifts you, and transports you into a totally different realm, and it's a child's imagination.
This is their creation. That's so empowering, and it stays with them. No one can ever take that away from them for the rest of their lives.
Hello! We're going after dreams, and it seems I'm supportive for you.
At the end of the play that they write, the child stands up, goes onto the stage and takes a playwright's bow, and that is the magic moment. That is the moment that we see the child literally stand up taller. It doesn't look like school, it doesn't feel like school. It's a place of joy, it's a place of creativity, storytelling, magic. Everything that Seen and Heard offers is completely free to the children, the families, the audiences. Children come back to us year after year because that's how you have a profound, long-term positive impact. That's how you really make a difference. Our patrons know the value of what we do, and really they are ambassadors for our work.
Helping young people grow their confidence, their voices, their belief in themselves as people worth listening to.
And we couldn't do what we do without our army of volunteer theatre professionals.
I came to see it, and of course, like everybody, you get hooked and you want to do it yourself.
I've never felt that I've done something more worthwhile.
Every time I do it, I'm scared. I love it every time.
It's just been one of the best things in the world for me.
It's priceless.
all these professionals come together to work on this play to create something extraordinary in a moment that lasts a lifetime.
We're all about liberating the imagination and letting it absolutely fly, because if you have an imagination, you can do anything. Thank you so much for your support. I leave you with these incredible child playwrights of whom I am overwhelmingly proud for one last triumphant bang. Thank you very much. I hope that worked because I didn't have all the sound here. So I hope that perhaps you can pop a message. Otherwise, it sounded like a educational documentary with me just talking and none of the lovely music and sound. So I hope it did work for you because hopefully it explained a little bit about our project. So the children that we work with come from, but geographically, locally to Seen and Heard. We work very closely with the 2 local primary schools, and we have worked here for 24 years. In the very early days of Seen and Heard, it was started in 1999 by 2 amazing women, Kate Coleman and Sophie Boyack. They used to go into the schools and go, hey, we're doing this playwriting thing. Who likes drama? And children would put up their hands and they would come and do it. Over the years and years and years, that process has grown and changed really quite dramatically as the teachers began to see the benefits of the work that we were doing and the families began to see the benefits of the work that we were doing. And now we work very closely with the primary schools who each identify 5 children who they consider to be in the most need of our support or our intervention. So we work with 10 children at a time on each of our playwriting courses. They sort of operate as cohorts throughout their time with us. These children are identified for a whole range of reasons. They never know why unless somebody asks, and we don't know either. The teachers will choose 5 children, and for each child, there'll be a different reason. The reasons range from special educational needs, English as a second, third, or fourth language, perhaps because they're super duper bright and not feeling challenged at school, perhaps because something difficult's happening at home, perhaps it's just an acute thing, somebody's unwell, and the teachers think, oh, it would be lovely for them to have a lovely time, to be somewhere else on a Tuesday evening, to do something that's just for them. And as Ben says in our beautiful video, once you've written your own play and seen it professionally performed, that's something that never leaves you. So that's what we work with our children. One of the interesting things about working with the 2 different schools is the demographic of the 2 different schools is completely different. Somers Town is very much divided along ethnic lines. It's a very complex, very overcrowded area. And the 2 schools we work with, the children come from very different cultural backgrounds. And they come together here and are often quite surprised to see each other, even though they might live in the same block of flats but have never spoken to each other before. Children in the same school come here and not sure why they're both here, because they're not usually in the same group or the same set at school as they come to Seen and Heard. And the super duper bright people and the people who maybe struggle a lot with literacy or with language are also in the same room. What we work on and what happens actually organically is that these children meld and become friends. And when our plays then get into the theatre, their children's families come and they sit next to people they may have seen at the school gate but never spoken to, sit next to them and share in their children's success. And that is a beautiful moment of community engagement. Our audiences are incredibly diverse because we have our children. They're the only children in the audience. Our plays are not for children, they're by them, but certainly not for them. We have 10 young playwrights in the audience who are aged 9 and above. We have their families, we have their teachers, and then we have the theatre going public, people who have heard about, seen and heard and gone, oh, that's quite quirky and interesting, I'd like to see that. And our army of volunteer theatre professionals, their family and friends, and all the people who aren't in the show always come and see the show because they love the work so much. The children, as I say, the reasons for referral are as diverse as the children themselves. And the reason that we can support individual children is because everything we do is one-to-one. Everything we do is bespoke. There is an adult for every child in the room. Children come to weekly playwriting classes, and for every child in the room, there are adults, and we try pairing different pairs, seeing who works best with whom, which child responds best to which adult. If we happen to know that perhaps in somebody's home, there is perhaps not a positive adult, male adult role model in the house, in the flat, then we might pair that child with a very, very gentle adult man. Or, you know, if it's a very boysy boy and there's no girls in his life, then we might pair him with an actress or a female actor who is going to engage that child in a different way. Actors are the most extraordinary volunteers because what actors still have that perhaps not all adults still have or demonstrate is a real sense of play. Actors play. That's how they do what they do. They play. And so they come along to these playwriting classes and they play with our children, and the kids love it. They're not teachers. They're not telling them what to do. They're not tutors. It's a real sense of play, and there's no right or wrong at seen and heard. And that really is actually, as we playwrights, that the only rule is you cannot have human characters. So all the characters on the stage are animals, objects, and objects of nature. And the child says, well, I want my character to be a cheesecake and my other character to be a lighthouse. And the actor goes, brilliant, what next? And the child's eyes start, you know, the scales start to fall from their eyes. They're like, you mean I don't have to, you know, conform to a particular way of completing this task of writing a play? There are no right and wrong answers. And so we're always saying, so what did he say next? And early on in the process, children sort of, particularly the high achieving people, look a little anxious because they're not sure what the answer is. And they sort of stare at their adult who's acting as scribe, kind of trying to wheedle out of them by osmosis, what does this adult want me to say? And the more that we say, it's up to you, it's your imagination. This can be anything. This character can be anything from anywhere. They can go anywhere. What do you want them to say? And that is incredibly empowering for our children. We then give those words the highest production values we can to elevate them, to really give voice and value and credence to those words. We don't change or edit the words in any way, but we use really skilled actors to present what this child wanted to say. The themes that come up again and again and again are themes of family, friendship, bullying, loss, anxiety about the planet, ecological disaster, environmental disaster, war, all sorts of things, as well as love and passion and a desire for, you know, cheesecake and sweets. What happens with the separation of the characters not being human, it means that the children can explore these issues at quite a safe distance. We had an extraordinary play between a head teacher's badge and another character, I can't remember what he was, but they were in a war zone in Syria. These two characters were in a war zone in Syria having a chat. And the lad remembers that the head teacher, he remembers that she's his head teacher's badge. She doesn't remember him until the immortal words, run, Mrs. Naylor, run, because the bombs start to drop. So it's very funny, and it's really, really shocking and really sad. but allowed that child to explore what they were thinking about this war zone. And our plays track all sorts of things that happen. So years ago, we had a hamburger, who walked onto the stage, went up to the audience and said, I think I may have horse meat in me, because it was the time of the horse meat scandal. And this child had picked up on this, so she'd written a character as a burger. So we were able to explore all these issues. The children are able to explore all these issues at a safe distance and receive real affirmation for their thoughts and their feelings. Coming to the way that we engage with our children, our young people, which I know is a lot of what we're thinking about in this seminar series, is how do you engage people who perhaps don't usually engage with whatever your thing may be, your cultural thing or your environmental thing. And we work really hard to remove any barriers to participation. So we don't necessarily use language like, these families are hard to reach or easy to ignore, or any of the other extraordinary terms that seem to materialize. We simply work with each family in the way that works best for them. We talk to them, we ask them. So the families do first come to us through the primary schools, but then the relationship is between seen and heard and the family, because that child who does that first course with us when they're 9 will be invited back year after year after year after year, as once you are a member playwright of Seen and Heard, you are always a member playwright of Seen and Heard. Consequently, we have member playwrights who are in their late 30s. I'm very proud to say that on our current cohort of little children aged 9 who are just beginning their Seen and Heard journey, we have a 9-year-old boy who's just written his first play this weekend, whose mum wrote her first play with us in 1999. And she has, we emailed her and said, we think your boy must be 9 by now, because he's not actually at one of these schools, but we are about serving our children and families forever. So he's with us. We've also got the nephew of another member playwright who wrote his first play in 2004. So he's in his 30s, I think, and his little nephew's just written his first play. Which is an extraordinary piece between some frog spawn and something else. Frog spawn's angry because he's pregnant and no one will give him a seat on the bus. So we work with families forever. Children come back year after year after year. And so that relationship is then built with the family. And we communicate with the family. We talk to them in whichever way they need us to help them. So removing those barriers to participation is not a catch-all, oh, well, this is what we do. We do whatever works for them. So if a mum says, well, I can't get him there on Tuesday because I've got 3 other little people and he's not had his tea, and we say, well, that's fine, we'll pick him up. And we always have 2 adults with any one child, and they'll go and pick the child up. They'll escort him here. We'll have got some sandwiches or something for his tea. We'll have checked with mum what he'd like to eat. We will do that. We escort children to and from. We also do things like we operate a CRASSH on the Sunday matinee of the show, so that parents can watch the play if they've got younger children who aren't allowed in, because you're not allowed in if you're under 7. Then the children get to go into the free CRASSH so that mum or dad can sit and watch calmly and happily watch their elder child's work and really celebrate in that success without worrying about their little one. We have a number of families, interestingly, where the children are hearing but the parents are deaf. And when that has happened, we hire in sign interpreters, both to help us communicate with the family, but also to sign interpret our plays, which, let me tell you, are extremely difficult. Apparently, I'm told, to sign interpret because they're full of non sequiturs and quirky turns of phrase. And of course, it's animals, objects, and objects of nature, not humans. But we have wonderful sign interpreters who help make that magic happen. So we will really work to remove whichever barrier the parent feels is in the way of their child or their young person's participation. So that first course, which you saw on the film, the playmaking one, is the beginning of a child's journey with us. As they transition to secondary school, we really, really try to hold on to them. So we keep communicating with mum or dad and with the young person if we have contact details for them. This is hugely problematic because many of our families have very chaotic home lives. Phones get cut off, mobile bills don't get paid, post tends to go astray. Most of our families live in quite overcrowded blocks of flats. The post doesn't quite get through. Some people don't like to open post because they are anxious about it. So we keep working to work out how is best to communicate with you. How would you like to hear from Seen and Heard? What can we do? Is it text? Is it WhatsApp? Is it post? Is it email? Many of our families are digitally disadvantaged. So we will try all of these things. And what I often end up doing, which I'm more than happy to do, is I just go around and knock on the door and say, hi, did you get the letter? Did you get the email? Did you get the text? Did you get the WhatsApp? Would you like to come and do the next course? And they say, oh yeah, I'm definitely coming. They just haven't been able or had the time or the capacity to fill in the form, the permission slip. So we will keep going. And it's a question of just gentle, kind tenacity. We just keep going. We invite children back. If they don't want to do the second course, they don't have to. Most do want to, but we also do things like take children on theatre trips into London's West End. Go, come on, we're all going off on a theatre trip. I always say, you know, some of my actors are in some, you know, all sorts of wonderful things, which is great if they're in a big West End show. Sometimes they're in a quirky little fringe show and they say, oh, do you want to bring the children to this? And I say, no, I want to take them into London's West End. I want to sit them on velvet seats and look at chandeliers and have a programme and ice cream and drinks and sweets and really celebrate theatre. London is full of theatre and lots of our children and families do not engage with that because it feels just, you know, outside their knowledge, outside their experience. And what we want to do is make it more accessible and feel accessible and say, look, you are welcome here. This is a fun, happy place to be. And you know theatre's fun and happy because you do that at Seen and Heard. That is a great way of engaging with our children. If they've not been able to come back for a course for whatever reason, they come and do a theatre trip and then they go, well, maybe I'd like to come back and do another course and another course and another course. This year, I launched a new course for our 14, 15-year-olds called Stage 2. And we have just completed that course. And it was really interesting because it was very hard to engage the young people, get them signed up because they're all at different secondary schools. They're all going through all sorts of things, GCSEs, but also something that is causing me a great deal of concern and anxiety at the moment, as I expect it is many of you, is school absence. And a number of these young people who are Seen and Heard young people, so we've known them since they were 9, are not going to school. They are overwhelmed for any number of reasons. This has become really problematic post-pandemic. I think it was a slow trickle pre-pandemic. Now I think school absences is absolutely huge. When I was recruiting children for this Stage 2 course, or young people, I should say, I was contacted by 3 different sets of parents saying, Ros, we would love a young person to do this. They haven't been to school. They're not going to school. They're really struggling with school. Do you think you could persuade them to come to Seen and Heard? And so, you know, I went and had chats with them, ring them up, send them messages. And we did get all 10 young people onto that course with a little bit of shenanigans and some back and forth, but they came and it was so wonderful. I can't tell you how wonderful it was. It was wonderful because, and we often find this with our older young people, because we've got them since they were 9, they come in here and they slot back into it and they start playing the games again with the actors. And all of the games that we play are very equalitative. So it doesn't matter how tall or old or young you are, what your academic abilities are, they are drama games that are very leveling, which means you might be able to beat the adults and you might not. And they come back and they all remember the games and they play the games, and the joy and the playfulness that I saw in these really very troubled 15, 16-year-olds was absolutely overwhelmingly moving. They struggled with the course, with attendance. They came, they left, they came, they came. They were back and forth. They were in and out. Oh, so I couldn't get out of bed. I'm coming. They were so exhausted by life. And they're 15. And we had a very interesting session. They were coming on Wednesday evenings for 2 hours. We're feeding them, which they loved. And the whole project ended with a great performance, with the young people performing alongside adults in a workshop sharing. But one of our Wednesday evening sessions, the young people were all there, but they were all just, after school, some are struggling with GCSEs. And we went around the room, as we always do, tell us something that happened today. How are you today? And we all do it, the adults, the children. I had a cheese sandwich. I fell over on the bus. And a number of these young people told really quite shocking stories about their day at school, their experience of school. One had just been excluded, one had been in isolation all day, and one was already out of school, excluded altogether. And when we asked them why, they each told the story really articulately, really clearly, and really well. Now, I know I only heard their side, their version of what happened to them that day in school, or why they were excluded. But the real overwhelming feeling that we all had was that they were simply not being listened to. And they loved being listened to by all of us. And having some empathy and some understanding and asking some questions. So why did he say that? Why did you think that? What did that feel like? Just being able to talk about it. And in this, I do not wish to make any accusations about teachers or schools, because I am wholly aware the schools are completely beleaguered. They're completely overwhelmed post-pandemic. And these young people, of course, they really missed that transition from primary to secondary school. Years 7 and 8, that's when you get into school, and really year 7, there's not like loads of work to do, and you have a bit of fun, you have a bit of a laugh, you're a little bit naughty, or maybe you're a bit naughty year 8 and 9, aren't you? You're good in year 7. Generally, obviously I'm making generalizations, but they missed that. They missed that finding your mates in year 7 and 8, finding your cohort, finding your tribe, finding your gang. They missed that. And they're banging on year 9 and year 10, going GCSEs, blah, 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 because that's what school have to do, because of Ofsted, because of, all of those kinds of things, the statistics and the way things are evaluated. And so these young people they're not coping with that. They're simply not coping with it, and therefore they're not going to school because they can't. We also had in that cohort of children one of our young people whose mum is deaf. And this young person's elder brother has worked with us. He's now 18, I think. Super bright. School are talking Oxbridge. He's thinking of not going because mum is struggling and his younger sister is struggling. Younger sister was with us for this project and is really struggling. We hired a sign interpreter for the sharing, and mum came, and we've met this mum a lot because we've known her since her son was 9. And it was a real privilege to have a big conversation with her and with her daughter and with her son, with our sign interpreter there. But it was also heartbreaking because this lady was explaining that school are not listening to her. Social services are cross with her because her child's not going to school. School are cross with her because her child's not going to school. Her husband died in the pandemic. He too was deaf. She is trying to cope with her daughter, who is extremely vulnerable and extremely challenging. And I learnt a sign word, which was nurture. Mum was saying that seen in her was the only time she felt that her children were nurtured. The only time she felt that nurture was here. And I found that really heartbreaking. We are working, and we will continue to work to really try and support that family further. That's just a little insight into the way that we work with individual families, the way that we try and pull together whatever we can. We've got a number of older young people who are doing very well, who we are supporting in all sorts of different ways. They might come and do their work experience with us, but equally, if their work experience, if they're not interested in theatre or costume or props or lights or sound or any of those things that we do here, then we will help and we broker relationships with other organizations. Maybe they want to be a lawyer or an architect. We did put one of our boys, got him a placement in an architect's office. He's now actually, I believe he's now a qualified architect, because I think he's nearly 30. So we work to try and place our young people. It is about the bespoke nature of what we do with different organizations as they get older, to ensure that long-term raising aspirations that we started when they were 9. I'm aware that I've talked a lot, but I'm not sure. And I think I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any questions for us. I think one of the other things that I do feel very strongly about, as well as school absences, is the value of creativity in arts and theatre. I feel very strongly that this is being devalued in school, not primary school, but certainly in secondary school. It's being devalued and devalued. Music, drama, arts in general are not being valued in the same way that STEM are: science, technology, engineering, and maths. And then they went, oh, that's a bit bad, isn't it? Let's call it STEAM and put arts in there. But arts is everywhere. Creativity is everywhere. If you want to be you need to think creatively if you want to do anything in life. And if we devalue these subjects in school, that has the most appalling impact, detrimental impact on our young people and their development. And I feel very strongly and very passionately that this is happening. And what I find also with particularly certain types of families and parents that we have, as seen and heard, that if school don't value the arts, then parents don't value the arts and don't want their children to think about a career in the arts. They want their children to go into IT or engineering or something that the government says is, you know, a worthy career. And that is very sad and very unhealthy. I think I've rabbited on enough. Thanks, Kelly.
That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Ros.